believe that that's what you do. So I ask them, what's the distribution of your data? And they go, what is distribution? And they don't know. So kudos to SMU for giving you a stats class that has probably curled your hair. It's the right thing to do because that is so important. The other thing that's important is architecture and data management. And seriously, if you don't understand the architecture of how the data is getting to you, then how can you understand sample inference? Oh, there's so much data. Yes, but sometimes your features are skewed. Sometimes your features have kurtosis. And some of you may know what I'm talking about, right? If you've gone through statistics. So you have to look at that because that has implications to your results, right? So we need to make sure we understand our architecture, our data management, data quality, our data lineage, data governance. We're just not in it for the cute and sexy models, right? We could be, but maybe Grant is, but I'm not, right? We've got to be in there for everything, right? We've got to be in there for the entirety of data science. Now, I realize some of us may be better in machine learning or deep learning or AI, and this is not one thing begets another, okay? What I'm showing you here is the complexity and intelligence and the difference. So, as you know, a lot of marketing hype right now is the fact that they take AI and they say AI includes deep learning and machine learning. Everybody has a model, all right? And I guess what I like to do is basically show you that understand your fundamentals, and as I heard earlier, I have trouble with her name. I just met her. She's a professor here. Yeah, I don't know where, but thank you, and thank you. And she said, I'm going to practice it. And she said, start with something simple. Absolutely. These people that want to do deep learning right out of the bat, you know, right out of the gate, I should say, it's like, my gosh, do you realize how big a footprint deep learning can be? Compute-wise, it just sucks up compute time. You can't do that at the endpoint, at the client. So obviously, we're all very concerned about reason and logic and value judgments and the implementations of true AI. So what I want to do today is really show you about some of the ideas that we have. And I've forgotten a couple, like quantum mechanics or quantum computing. What that's going to do is we're going to have to reprogram everything because it'll be 0 and 1 at the same state. It won't be one or the other. It'll be 0 and 1 at the same time. It's going to screw up all of our computing. So we're going to have to understand that. Now, the one thing I always love is search engines. And I did a search engine for GANs. You can do it too. And what you'll come up with is GANs. It's geese. And what's the German word for geese? GANs. So after I got over that, you have to be careful. That was a lesson. You really have to be careful about what you're asking the automation to do. All right, I put in generative adversarial networks. So the first time I ever saw the original paper by Ian Goodfellow from the University of Montreal about 4 or 5 years ago, he actually had this wonderful picture here about 2 neural networks fighting. And for some reason, that stuck in my head, so I searched for it, and that's how I got to GANs, the duck, or the goose. I guess it's a goose. I'm not sure. It's German, no matter what. He's German. So, but what is, but truly, you've got to be careful about what you ask AI to do, right? Whether it be machine learning or deep learning, but I'm going to use AI as a general term. So, but it's like learning to play chess, right? GANs is like learning to play chess. You always want to play with somebody better than you. And that's really what GANs are. Well, and I'll get a little technical here. I'm sure it won't fall on too many deaf ears. And then I'll be very general. But I know the crowd is kind of mixed crowd, so of different levels. But obviously, we start with a generator and a discriminator. With a generator, we will create random noise, and we'll generate faces, and we'll take real faces. We'll use a discriminator to decide between fake and real. If we want to only have fake ones, we can go back and look at the gradient of the generator and create fake ones if we want to. So there's a lot of application to GANs. And I find it fascinating that, okay, anomaly detection, I'm in cybersecurity now. I've done medical, furnaces, theaters, HVAC systems, Pepsi-Cola machines, you name it. But, and whoever said in one of the panels, it's good, I think it was her again, she was saying how good it is to look at different areas that you study in data science. It is, because I am looking at something right now that I am taking from my biomedical engineering background in spatial epidemiology. Now who would think? Somebody actually asked me, how would I look at the growth of support vector machines and their clusters? I go, bacteria do it. And so actually I found a paper. It wasn't under data science. So it really helps to understand different areas. Photography, facial recognition, auto generation of anime, images, text, game development, scenery rendering. I thought it was quite interesting about the advertising and design, because when I started to pull up the different types of GANs, man, I should have looked at how many papers have been written about GANs recently, because they've just exploded from the original Goodfellow paper. And there's cycle GAN, there's pixel DT GAN, pix-to-pix GAN, I believe that's domain transfer GAN, progressive GAN, and disco GAN, which I thought was a really cool name, disco GAN. Yeah, somebody probably had a very creative edge calling it disco GAN, right? Well, you know what they use disco GAN for? This is really cool. They had the input of the handbags and they created the shoes. Isn't that cool? Awesome! Isn't that awesome? I know you guys don't think so, but all us women are going, that is so cool, finally. Yeah. So there's a lot of cool applications that we can use, not just in cybersecurity. We can use it in advertisement. We can use it in marketing. We can create things with our data science for the good. And then we've got Grant's son here with a tan, okay? And he's kind of tall. Reinforcement learning, I love reinforcement learning because it reminds me of a baby learning to walk. You know, you fall, you get up. You fall, you get up. You eventually realize I don't like to fall anymore, and you start walking. Now, my son, Hunter, who is, sorry, son, he started walking when he was 9 months old. 9 months old. Isn't that amazing? I mean, what kid walks at 9 months old? But he kept walking into the wall. And so he had a big goose egg on his head. And, at first we thought it was kind of funny because Hunter kept walking into the wall. Isn't that cute, you know? And he'd sit down and cry. And, well, pretty soon people thought we were beating him, you know? And he had this big green goose egg on his head. And I took him to the eye doctor, and they go, that boy can't see. So then came the bizarre people that come along and go, is there surgery to fix that because he's wearing glasses at 10 months old? I was like, really? Is there something we can fix your brain with, or, but Some people are very curious, but they do it with prisms. And, but now you can check his forehead. He doesn't walk into walls anymore. But it really, reinforcement learning is one of the latest techniques that we can use that really speaks to the idea of a baby walking. So if you can't remember how things work, remember the visuals, okay? So we have an agent, we have environment, we have the reward, we have the action, and it just keeps rewarding you for the actions that you're taking. Now we go a little crazy. Talked a little bit about quantum computing, but it wasn't in my talk today, but virtual reality. You may think, I don't want to wear the glasses. What is this telling you as data scientists? This is telling us that, all right, don't everybody raise your hand at once. Once a professor, always a professor. It's telling us that our data is going to come to us differently. Our data streams are coming to us much differently. It will be different areas of data that will be coming to us, different types of data. Well, you think that's okay, but what happens if she's reaching out and grabbing it? All of a sudden, we're in augmented reality. Well, let's take a look at virtual reality. You have a 42% CAGR, Hunter, is compounded annual growth rate. He's a finance guy.
Not a typical finance term.
Yeah, oh, okay, industry term, I stand corrected. Okay, so it's there. It's not just the glasses anymore, guys. It's being able to look all around you with something beyond glasses and being able to integrate yourself into the data. In fact, there's some very interesting films that actually put you inside of the film and then lets the audience make the decision as to what ending you wanted. And I thought that was fascinating. You know, young Frankenstein movie could, you know, have the monster be very, very happy and stuff. Well, actually he was. Maybe he got killed, or maybe the Godfather didn't get killed. I mean, we could do all kinds of things, right? It would be really pretty cool if we could change the way films ended. Who liked the ending of The Wife? Anybody see The Wife? I won't. Ready Player One. Yeah, we need to change some, but it's happening, all right? You may not think it's right now, right here. What you need to do is take a look at what's going on out there and how the data is going to be coming to us, or how we're going to be creating the models that create this. I know it's a little out there. But it actually helps with medical therapy, particularly for PTSD, and also for training firefighters. Wouldn't it be a lot easier training firefighters in a virtual reality as opposed to a burning building? Yeah, maybe, probably. Or how about an airline? How about the 737 MAX? Love to see that one. Yeah, and I did check. How many of you checked? How many of you? Yeah, I did too. Yeah. So virtual reality is here. Right now, all you see is the glasses. But there are other things. As you see, she doesn't have the glasses on. Maybe it's contacts. Maybe it's something else around her. Maybe it's augmented reality. How many of you played Pokemon? Pokemon Go? Yeah. Did you get your free pizza? Did you know there was a free pizza? Yeah, there is. It was a great marketing tool. So the early augmented reality was Pokemon Go. And what some of the advertisers did was actually put in marketing snips about free pizza. And so if you were playing Pokemon, it would take you right to the pizzeria and you could get a free slice of pizza. Marketing tool. Where do you fit in to this world as data scientists? Creating the software, creating the model, creating the analytics, because you know everybody will want the analytics. They will want to understand what's going on. Is our marketing working? Pardon me. So there's 177 billion market value by 2022. If you don't think this is coming, it's already here. Pokemon is a very good example of it. Marketing strategies, as you can see from the picture, you've got all kinds of different marketing strategies on where you need to go just by holding up your phone. And it will help you and take you there, right? It may do that now where it's stationary, but this will be much more immersive. How will our data react? How will we react in creating that data? And also a heads-up displays. BMW has got this great display of augmented reality where you can actually see through the pillar between the passenger seat and the rear seat. Isn't that cool? So there might be a bicyclist there instead of running him over like I've tried to do. Okay, I really haven't. But you know, you can look over and you can actually see through the pillar. Heads-up displays. A number of years ago, I developed one of the heads-up navigation displays for the F-22. It was all in the air. You don't think it's coming? What is it going to do to us as data scientists? Where are we going to get the data? How are we going to trace that data lineage? What about data quality? What about governance? What if somebody hacks this? What's it going to do to our data? And lastly, it's all about the social and immersive experiences above and beyond social media. So we've got a lot of stuff coming. Are you scared yet? Are you excited? Is this regular stuff? I started slow with GANs and geese, right? Let's move up a little higher. Holographic data immersion. If you don't think this is real, about 7 years ago, I was in Taiwan and I saw holographic images that we were able to talk with and have conversations with. What's the data? What are you going to do as data scientists to make this good data quality? Minority Report, remember? Well, Tom Cruise, crazy Tom, doing his thing in the air with his computers, right? It's real. That was all CGI, but this is real. And lastly, one of my favorites, because I'm a neuroscientist by training, that worked in deep neural networks, of course. You have to be a neuroscientist and work in deep learning, of course. Right? You wouldn't work in something else if you're a neuroscientist, right? So cognitive computing. Now, I'm sure you've heard a lot about cognitive computing. My favorite is cortical algorithms. Has anybody heard of cortical algorithms besides Amanda? All right. Cortical algorithms, I have to use my hands for these because I find cortical algorithms to be so cool. They literally represent what the brain is doing. And I've been in a number of surgeries where they pull the skull off. Yeah, they pull the skull off. And, okay, just a side note, they actually put a tube to take all the liquid off your brain. And while I was standing there, you know what they do? You can hear it go. And I'm thinking, there goes first grade, there goes second grade, there goes third grade. But it's fascinating because you see the human brain. And I was lucky enough to do a rotation behind one of the famous neurosurgeons in the world who's now retired. And just looking at how the brain works and goes from neuron to neuron, from start to finish, and from this point to that point, cortical algorithms are like neural networks on steroids. They look at n dimensions. And if you're interested, there's all kinds of papers out there that have been written about cortical algorithms. Now, part of the problem is we don't really know how the neurons work. But recently, they came up with a new way of understanding how neurons fire using something called, I believe it's called flame. And it uses fluorescent lighting and watches when you're doing something, and the neuron itself will light up. The more we understand about neuroscience, the better we will be at data science. Weird, huh? So cognitive computing has 4 areas. It has to be adaptive, it has to be interactive, it has to be iterative and stateful. It means that even cortical algorithms have to learn constantly and take in input and output from every dimension, just not in a 2-dimension, but an n dimension, just like the brain works, so we don't lose 4th grade. And lastly, we have contextual, where we look at the understand and identify and extract contextual elements of what we're considering. Now, while cognitive computing can be very simple, cortical algorithms can be incredibly powerful. They're about, I think the first book I edited, or the first chapter I edited on cortical algorithms actually had 52 pages of mathematical equations. And I was going to slash my wrist, but it's fascinating. If you guys ever want to get into cortical algorithms and want to do something besides deep learning and go more into true AI, try your hand at cortical algorithms. Now, I would be remiss to Grant if I didn't present to you a little about adversarial machine learning. Now, I know there's a fire eye guy here, sorry, could be a person, could be a lady. And we have Microsoft, and I know we have McAfee, so there are some folks out there that know adversarial machine learning. Do y'all know what it is? Yes? Yeah, some of you? We're attacking the analytics. That's kind of scary. So we're studying design of machine learning algorithms, AI algorithms, statistics, anything that can resist attacks. So we have poisoning attacks, we have evasion attacks. Poisoning attacks are at training time, can change the model parameters. Evasion attacks at test time can misclassify a model decision, increasing your false negatives. We have done white box, gray box, and black box. White box is where you know the models, know the features. Gray box is where you know don't know the model, but you know the features. Black box is you don't know either. Now, what is a hacker going to do? He's going to be a black box guy, right? He doesn't know anything. So he's also looking, oh, that's strange, why it didn't line up. Okay, so we have, it could be a targeted attack, or it could be an non-targeted attack. It could be a physical attack, like putting a sign on a stop sign, right? A sticker on a stop sign, and you'll drive right through it. So we've got a lot of work to do there, data scientists, on fixing that. And yes, it is us data scientists that have to fix that. Self-driving cars will never be able to do that unless we fix it. In Alaska, we were able to just pile snow on top of the stop sign, did the same thing. We didn't have to put a sticker on it. But so my team looks at adversarial machine learning in depth. To give you an idea, here's an attack on digits. You have 0 through 9. You have 100% of the time it's understanding exactly what the number is. A 3 is a 3 100% of the time. But down below, following an adversarial attack, a 3 is actually a 5 100% of the time. So we can do that. Digits are kind of boring. So let's do it. I did it with a penguin in RSA, but we did it with a temple and a bus. It looks pretty normal, even after the perturbation. But after the perturbation, it classified it as an ostrich. If I had thought about it, it should have classified it as a goose, but I didn't. So next time I'll train it better with more birds. We have facial recognition. How many of you use Clear at the airport? Nobody? Oh, yeah, I do. Gets me through the line faster, right? Well, you put craft some glasses and on Reese Witherspoon, by the way, Clear uses biometrics. And we can hack in, I can hack into those. So, not we, I don't want to indicate that McAfee goes around attacking people. So, but we crafted glasses on Renee Witherspoon, and up came Russell Crowe. So, much better than the penguins in the frying pan, I think. So, we went ahead and we've done white box, gray box, black box. There's a data set from Android called Draben. It's from Germany. It's an Android malware data set. Went ahead and trained it using the top malware families. We had a little bit of unbalanced data set. But as it turns out, when we created a substitute model to create adversarial examples using the Jacobian salient map, Jacobian saliency. All right, now, what is MA? Somebody know JSMA? Jacobian saliency map approach. Sorry. You get a little nervous getting up here, right? Can't remember my acronyms. So we used JSMA to create the adversarial examples. We transferred the attack to the target system. Originally, our detection rate was about 90%. After we attacked it, we did not know the model. We did not know the features. We attacked it using something called transferability. And after the black box attack, we got less than 20% detection, which means that almost 100% of the time it's detected as malware. After we perturbated it and attacked it, all we did was change zeros to ones, right? And actually just kept pinging with different models. And I'll show you that transferability approach here in a second. We actually went in and looked at the malware afterwards, and look, it's, 80% of the malware was accepted. That's a real downer when you're trying to do your capstone project, right? The last night, you got to put everything together, and all of a sudden somebody's attacked the system. So what is transferability? It basically looks at the target model. You train your own model, use a substitute model. You do adversarial crafting against a substitute model and deploy adversarial examples against that target model. Papernaut actually did a really good job at looking at the target and the source. And what this shows is a transferability in black box of one algorithm to another and the success rate. So you can see some of them aren't so successful, but let's look at logistic regression and targeting support vector machines. It's very scary. It's successful 91% of the time. So even if you don't know the algorithm, you can attack the algorithm. So what are you doing as data scientists to protect your data, to protect your algorithm? There are defenses out there for it. So it's just not us going out there and creating models and doing all the sexy model stuff. We have to do the basics. We have to understand simple things like distributions. Start small with, basic statistical models and apply machine learning. Then do deep neural networks. Then do cortical algorithms. Understand your use case. But also put in defense techniques that somebody like a bad actor can't go in there and attack your algorithm. All right, so now what happens, now I'm going to bring it back up from all that technical stuff. What happens if we create an algorithm and we have an AI application and one AI application looks the same as the other application? One AI application ends up to be Mother Teresa. The other one ends up to be Ted Bundy. What happened? Is it the environment you put it in? Or did you do something from an ethics, from a bias? What did you do? Does AI have a conscience? Can you create consciousness for artificial intelligence? How would you do that? How do you ensure, short of regulation, because we all heard in one of the panels, regulation really lags behind what we do. How can we go in there and do something that is good for us? Because as they said in the panel, first do no harm. And I swear to God, we didn't collude on first do no harm. But coming from a medical background, I can tell you it's true with data science. Absolutely true with data science. Certainly the ethics and the bias, I know we've talked a lot about that today, but understand the systemic risk and impact of what you're doing, and understand the privacy and security of what you're doing, because someone somewhere will attack your algorithm, and you may not even know it. How will you know it? How will you put that protection in? How will you make sure that you're creating AI, your AI algorithm is a Mother Teresa and not a Ted Bundy? Boy, after dinner discussion hasn't been good, has it? Ted Bundy, brain drain, ugh. So you might think that this is all new to us, right? Orville Wright actually stated, after he created the airplane, was asked, do you regret creating the airplane? He goes, and I'm paraphrasing, yeah. You know why? Because you can't guarantee that your algorithm or your airplane will be able to detect cancer or will be able to optimize a crime spree. You're not going to be able to tell that. So it's our mutual responsibility that we have got to understand that we can do the models. We understand the risk and the impact of the entire system. In short, we are system engineers first and data scientists second. Because as data scientists, we have to understand the entire system and its impact on whether we create a Ted Bundy. So Orville Wright said, wow, planes drop bombs. I didn't mean to create a plane that dropped bombs. But then in 1983, and I apologize to those two of you that were at RSA, I thought it was a great I don't have the picture of it. Every slide we presented at RSA was actually a movie. So if we had problems with these slides, you can imagine what we would have had problems with that. But what Stanislav Petrov did in 1983, he's in USSR, I guess, at that time, and he was monitoring missiles. And the missiles came in, and he saw 5 missiles coming in from the United States. Every bit of his training, everything that he saw from the algorithms on his screen said, respond. Respond and start World War III, right? Because he saw the US sending missiles over, and we needed to do something. He needed to do something. But there is something that Stanislav Petrov did, and I don't know where he ended up. I have to read the book. Command and Control is the book. He actually understood that having human-machine teaming, or human in the loop as was called in one of the panels, he used his intuition and said, why in the world would the United States start World War III with only 5 missiles? Darn tootin'. We'd take 200 of those suckers a week. Right? We're America, right? So what he did was he considered it in 23 seconds. He considered that a malfunction of the system, and indeed it was. It was because of sunlight on high-altitude clouds. And of course, when I heard that, I said, well, you should have put it in your training. So, but back in 1983, I'm not sure we had that. But, you know, once a data scientist, always a data scientist. So it's important to understand what you're creating your model for and putting in all your defenses. So I've shared with you the pyramid of complexity and intelligence. It's not one thing begets another. It's about complexity and intelligence. Start with a simple thing first. I've shared with you 6 techniques that I believe is really what's going to be seen and impact us data scientists quite heavily in the next 10 to 20 years. I've shown you adversarial machine learning. And first do no harm. Now, you may think that as data scientists, we're all pretty safe and sound from all of this, right? We know, we understand all this stuff. But as a stage 4 breast cancer patient, I'm an advocate for early detection. So all you men out there, please tell your moms, your wives, your sisters, your aunts, please get a mammogram. It saved my life. I wouldn't be here. I still have chemo every 3 weeks. I'm still stage 4, but I'm in remission. AI has helped me stay in remission. Thank God it's a Mother Teresa and not a Ted Bundy, right? But during reconstruction, after mastectomies. During reconstruction, I had the nurse come in to me in the office. And she said, take off your top. We need to look what we did. I said, okay. And she takes out her cell phone. I said, boy, I hope that's safe. And I hope you're going from here down. You know, she goes, oh, trust me. It's an app. It goes right to the nurse's station, and we put it on your medical record. Now, mind you, at McAfee, we've actually gone in and demonstrated, and I believe this is on CBS News, we've actually gone in and demonstrated that we can go in and hack between the nurse's station and a room with no problem whatsoever. It's pretty easy. Medical profession needs to come a long way. But I trusted her. I trusted her. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, golly, She just took a picture of my boobs. And I work in a cybersecurity company. I'm getting a little scared here. So I wrote a blog. And we posted the blog about how important it is for you to take care of your security and how important it is, even as data scientists, we should be aware of privacy and security and build it into everything we make, right? Well, I wrote a blog on that. And as a Ph.D., I've always wanted to be, always wanted to be published in Scientific American. So you know what they did? They picked up the blog. And now, the doctor will see you now, and so will everyone else. And I'm published in Scientific American. My boobs are in Scientific American. So artificial intelligence is not intelligent. Remember that. We are, right? Now go out there and make yourself useful, make yourself trustworthy, and make darn sure that all of those algorithms do what they're supposed to do, right? Thank you. Questions? Any questions? And thank you for that kind applause. You were very patient, especially with our technical difficulty. Don't ask me any hard questions.
Sure. First off, just thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank
we really
you.
appreciate it. I'm just curious, over your years in the industry, what were some of the problems you were facing in the data science field when you first started? And how have those evolved or changed to like modern day? And I don't know if you're a sightseer, but if you have any projections for the future, what you think are going to be our biggest challenges moving forward?
I really, truly believe that I have a great ability to see strategically. I've always been very good about, when I finished my PhD, I went to my boss at the time and go, we need to automate this. 9 years was too long. And yeah, I was on the 9-year plan. But the one thing I have seen is definitely over the past few years, the ability of people to come in and, oh, machine learning. Okay, we know that. That's black magic. Oh, AI. Well, we're scared of that. Oh, now marketing came in and said AI is everything. Okay, that's good. So it's interesting to see the past few years how it's grown. But I have to tell you, about 10 years ago, when I was really driving machine learning, everybody looked at me and go, I literally had a marketing guy come up to me and go, you just need to put everything you know about machine learning on one PowerPoint slide. And it's like, you got to be kidding. We were literally screaming at each other at Intel. I go, there is no way I can do that. And I actually did it. So, and I teach it in Analytics 101, right? Right. So it's a build. It's a build. But the other thing I see is there's way too many fake data scientists. And thank you all for being part of SMU and the prospective students. You couldn't pick a better school. I've looked at the curriculum. I support it 100%. And there's so many fake data scientists out there, those that just take a blob of data and throw a model at it and run with it. And when I ask them, what is the distribution of your data? Is it linear or nonlinear? And they go, ooh. You know, that's wrong. But do not throw out the baby with the bathwater, because there's so few of us. You're all worth a lot of money. Unless at McAfee you want to be employed, then we'll give you the regular price, right? No, seriously, it's a sought after profession, and it commands a great price, a great salary. But don't throw those guys out with, I'm from the north. Don't throw them out with the bathwater. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Teach them. Ask them questions. Ask them to go back and, did you use Kendall's towel? Did you use Pearson's? Why or why not? When you ask them, did you use a correlation coefficient? And if they say, what's a correlation coefficient? Instead of going, oh my God, sit down and teach them. We need more of you. We need a whole lot more of you. So, hey.
Hey, thank you for sharing. Definitely appreciate it, especially your last story about the getting into the journal. Can't wait to read that one. Right? Yeah.
There's no pictures.
Oh, no pictures.
All right, there's no pictures.
But alongside that, when we're thinking about privacy and something like that happens, or the amount of cameras that are just in abundance now, and just unknowingly there could be models that are running with good intentions or bad. What sort of tools can, just the average person have to, if they don't want to be surveilled or concerned about that sort of surveillance, given cameras are everywhere, and in most cases, models will be running on it to identify who you are, tracking where you are, and
the bias.
that sort of, the bias that could happen, especially
bias.
given, people that are more likely to be, yes. So my question is, as we're going into GDPR set in, and there are more cameras than ever, IoT devices than ever, how can we deal with the concerns of privacy and the surveillance in that as data scientists?
That's a great question, and as a Microsoft employee, shouldn't I be asking you that? Seriously, in my privacy talks, I speak about you own your privacy, and it's up to you as to what you share. I understand cameras. Sometimes we're even breathing, and some of the airports now, they're your breathing and your heart rate, and certainly your biometrics with the clear and your fingerprints are everywhere. My DNA is everywhere. When they did 632 of my genes, that's the first thing I looked at, for checking for cancer. And by the way, ladies, they were normal. They were all normal. The cancer is actually from the environment. So, yeah, scary, isn't it? So, my DNA's out there. My mother's last name is out there. My social security name is out there. I've just, when I do teach privacy, I teach about the difference between privacy and security and how important it is that you own your privacy and you choose. I have a brother who refuses to post the pictures of his daughter on Facebook. Absolutely refuses. That's one step. What's your step? We all have to understand how much do we, what's the risk and reward. The reward to me for sharing my DNA that y'all will probably find after I'm dead. It's out there. Everybody's got my DNA now, along with the pictures. You look at that, and my reward for sharing that was understanding if it was genetic for my son, because men can get breast cancer too. And breast cancer genes are in the same gene as prostate cancer. I don't know if you knew that or not. So if your mom has breast cancer, you men, be very careful, because it typically has prostate cancer on the same gene. So the reward for me personally was sharing that information. When somebody asked me to shoot my driver's license over I refuse. The reward is not worth my risk. So I think it really comes down to your own personal, and with the cameras and, the breathing and the biometrics, I look at a line of, 150 people at San Jose Airport, and I go, I'm signing up for clear. I am not waiting in that line, and that's my reward for sharing that privacy. So I would ask you, what are you willing to give up to share your information? And every time you share it, ask yourself that. Sorry, I can't be more thorough.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
So one question is about cybersecurity. That this is a great opportunity to ask somebody like you. Is with the increasing availability of machine learning AI algorithms out there, that the full range of people, like script kiddies to state-sponsored cyber actors, can pick up and create machine learning or AI malicious applications to attack an organization from different vectors. What strategies, what elements of cybersecurity strategy should an organization start adopting, in addition to also adopt defense solutions based on AI and machine learning?
There's a number of defenses that you can use, such as distillation, feature squeezing, noise. There's a number of them, and I would recommend using an ensemble. I would not recommend using just one. Use a combination of at least 3, if not more.
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing so much of your story. That's it's really meaningful. You have such a great way of communicating about really technical concepts. What are some of your favorite communication techniques for maybe explaining models or just bringing people along as you're talking to different audiences?
Oh gosh, that is a great question. I don't know. I think I've had luck with being authentic. I think that I have to say that's very odd. Pre-cancer, I wasn't as happy as I am now. Isn't that odd? It's very odd. I wake up every morning and go, hot damn, I'm alive, But I think it's, one of the things is relating it to a personal story has always been helpful to me. Being authentic in doing that. Second of all, know your audience. My first question to Lorna was, okay, who's in the audience? And I found out that it was just a real mix. People who had been through all these courses, and then people who haven't been through the courses, and some people in between. And it's like, well, so I do like to have a little bit of everything for everybody. I'm sure maybe some of the technical stuff went over the heads of people who haven't gone through this. And others are like, oh, yeah, we've heard that before. So, I just found that, and it really happened post-cancer, is being authentic. And be concise, which obviously I'm not. So I'm still working on the second one. My son knows that, as does Grant, right? Right. So, yes, ma'am. I know, he was tall, wasn't he?
I don't know how to make this shorter.
It's like I'd have to stand on my tippy toes.
Thank you for presenting again. I was just curious. It sounds like you've been in the data science world even before it was data science.
Oh, yeah.
And I was wondering if, as a woman, you can give us the expectations for how much we can expect to be listened to and how much we can be expected to be taken seriously.
How much we can, I heard the first part, I didn't hear the last part.
Seriously.
Oh. Well, take yourself out of data science. I can tell you most women will never be taken seriously. So No, I'm kidding. I tease. In all seriousness, I have seen more women in data science and statistics than I have almost anywhere else except biomedical engineering. And the one thing that I do have an issue with is the people who go out and look for data scientists that before we have a lot of these data science masters and now PhDs in machine learning, is they will only hire computer scientists. And most of those are men. And I said, why don't you go over to biomedical engineers? 50% of biomedical engineers are female. We definitely need more diversity because it's going to help the bias in our models. And I do believe that bringing in I look out into the audience, the diversity of this crowd is amazing. We need more females, but how do we be taken seriously? From the get-go, talk data. My son knows a little thing that I always tell him about be a duck, right? Women have a very high emotional intelligence. It's a fact. Lorna, right, if she's around? Yes? Winner, chicken dinner. Yep. So women have a high emotional intelligence. So when I'm yelling at Brian, for example, I'm very passionate. And in the beginning of my career, you know what they said? Exactly. Stop being emotional. Calm down. Tell me to calm down. Right? So, you've got to let it run off your back. And I know, in 40 years, yes, I've had discrimination. Yes, I've had harassment. When do you want to fight the battle or win the war? And most of the time I'm a duck. I just let the water and the crap roll off of me. When it gets to the point where it imparts issues with me personally, and it's obviously sexually inappropriate, or I'm being discriminated against, obviously, I will raise the flag. But what we need is more women in data science. And I can say that my entire team is women. It wasn't planned that way. They're the best people for the job. But they were all absolutely phenomenal. And it's not to be bad against the guys or anything, because we need you too. But let's get a mix in there. You don't have to be a computer scientist to be a data scientist, right, Grant? And if you go to any ASA meeting, American Statistical Association, JSM, Joint Statistical Meeting, 99.99% women. Isn't that weird? But they don't call themselves data scientists. So you kind of scratch your head and go, come on, we're not driving a Model T anymore. Just join the force. But pick your battles, let it roll off of you, but speak with data in everything you do. Because you are, indeed, a data scientist, right?
Everyone would please join us in thanking Dr. Celeste Fralick one more time for being with us.
Thank you. Holy cow. Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's so nice of you. Thank you. Wow. That's very nice. Thank you. Golly. I just need one, really. I'm just so excited. Thank you. And I didn't even use the chair. Yeah.